I played 300 days of Stardew Valley. Like my first and second 100 days, these 300 days were going to have a set of goals. Goal number 1, buy a Junimo hutch and fully automate my farm. Goal number 2, attempt to give everyone a birthday gift. And before you say, Gary, this is insanely easy, why are you saying that it's hard? It is hard. Goal number 3, finish the missing bundle. And goal number 4, actually repair Willie's old boat and finally go to Ginger Island. Day 201 started with me waking up on my farm completely confused. I greeted my husband and walked outside to see that the wizard wanted an iridium bar. I bumbled around my chest looking for sprinklers or any ingredients to make iridium sprinklers. But my boxes looked like something out of an episode of Hoarders, so I decided that I was just going to go to the wizard. I gave him the iridium bar he requested, and he proceeded to kick me out, but I said nay nay sir, and proceeded to use his magic book to move my fish ponds around. I then visited Krobus and bought an iridium sprinkler. Headed off to Sandy's to buy 9 starfruit seeds, and I spent the rest of the night murdering dust sprites in the mines because I couldn't remember where I put my coal. I then gave birth in the middle of the night and decided to name my new child Doomslayer. On day 202, I woke up and checked on little Doomslayer. And Sebastian was understandably still getting used to being a new father. And I spent the entire day setting up where I want my sprinklers, Junimo hutch, and scarecrows to go. Day 203 started off with this cute dialogue from Sebastian. Mayor Lewis reminded me that the Festival of Ice is tomorrow. I spent the morning improving my sprinkler setup. And I set off into town looking for Caroline because it was her birthday today. And this happened.
What? What the fuck?
I managed to snag a nautilus shell off the beach from my sturgeons. I finally caught up with Caroline to give her a birthday gift. I tossed the spookfish into my new fish pond and appeased my sturgeons. On day 204, Caroline wrote me and thanked me for hanging out in her hippy-dippy room. I then headed down to the Festival of the Ice and I defended my title. On day 205, I finally had enough iridium bars so that I could start the final upgrades on my farm tools. But before I did that, I decided that I was going to appease my lava eels. I then headed off to Clint's and invested in a watering can upgrade. I then bought a bus ticket, blew up the bouncer, and decided to meet Mr. QI in person. He said that I had a spark and compared me to zesty sauce or something. Then he proceeded to brag about all the treasure chests that he put down in the mines, and quite honestly,
that don't impress me much.
I then tried my luck at a scorpion carp, and after fighting for what felt like an eternity with it, I finally caught it. And I proceeded to freak out. I then harvested my aged starfruit wine and made bank. Day 206 was Sebastian's birthday, so I gave him what I always give him. I checked on the needs of my fish ponds and saw that my blobby boys had rather exquisite taste. The last of my starfruit wine was ready, so I decided that I was going to cut my profits down and decide to age most of it. I headed down to the beach and saw that my crab pots finally produced something that I needed. So I appeased my sea cucumbers. Damn you blobby boys, why did you have to be fancy? On day 207, Sebastian woke up before me and repaired a few fences. I headed over to Clint's and picked up my watering can and then dropped off my axe to be upgraded. I decided to try the quarry mine again, and after battling a few skeleton heads, I finally got the golden scythe. I paid Marnie a visit and finally gave her that cave carrot. Look at her pretending to like that cave carrot, lying ass bit. I then spent the rest of the night in the lower part of the mines trying to find red slime eggs. On day 208, I bought a regular egg from the traveling cart because apparently I had forgotten to sell one for shipment. I checked my monster eradication goals and saw that I was almost done with the monsters in their regular mines. I then spent the rest of the night hunting down slimes for possible slime eggs. On day 209, my slimes actually looked like they were going to produce me another smaller slime, but unfortunately that didn't happen because they got distracted by me. I picked up my axe from Clint's and dropped off my hoe for upgrading. I spent the rest of the day in Skull Caverns. Unfortunately, though, I didn't have the adequate supplies for it, but I did manage to get enough slimes to press into another egg. On day 210, Sebastian gave me a cup of coffee. It was also Harvey's birthday, so that would work out later on in the day. After atoning for my Queen of Saw sins, I saw that the spirits were in good humor today. The night market was also coming back into town. I checked the traveling cart to see if she was selling any battery packs and saw that she was selling some green tea. So with my pinky held high in the air, I appeased my fancy boys. I stopped off at Harvey's clinic to give him a birthday gift, and then he proceeded to tell me that he absolutely loved flu season. And no man, no. After picking up some bombs from the dwarf, I spent the rest of the day down in Skull Caverns until I passed out. On day 211, I pressed more slime into eggs. I then ran my new green slime egg in to get incubated. I made a trip to Clint's to pick up my iridium hoe, and I also had him break open some geodes for me. And finally, he cracked me a tiger's eye, the last gem I needed to donate to the museum. Now the only thing left to donate was artifacts. I spent the rest of the night in the submarine deep-sea fishing until I passed out. On day 212, Marlin wrote me to tell me that he found me after the subway people had thrown my body into the mud. I got another green slime egg and decided to incubate it without using another slime charmer ring because I'm that metal. And lazy. But I made it out alive, so that's all that matters. I accepted Robin's resource rush again as another excuse to buy a whole crap ton of wood from her. I then spent some time down in the mines farming some dust sprites despite turning my pickaxe in yesterday for its final upgrade. And then I spent the night in my favorite place until I passed out again. Throw me in the mud, baby! On day 213, after I finished my farm chores, I trudged down to the wizard's tower and gave him a birthday gift. I then headed over to Clint's and picked up my pickaxe. I then headed over to my mother-in-law's house and bought 1,000 wood from her. And since my first sturgeon pond was nearly full, I commissioned her to make me another fish pond. Fish Pond Nation, baby! I then headed down to Willie's and donated 5 iridium bars to fix the anchor. And I once again spent the night in my favorite place. And then this happened. And oh my god, it was the most un-a-hole pattern ever of an octopus to catch. And I appropriately celebrated. On day 214, Mayor Lewis sent out Who Got Who for Secret Santa, and I ended up getting Pierre. Yay.
9!
My new green slime egg had hatched, so I went to go see if they would commingle with each other, and they didn't. My starfruit was ready, so I paid the wizard a visit and built a Junimo hutch. I spent the rest of the night messing around with the fish in my aquarium room. On day 215, it was a purple luck day. Gus requested a coconut for his Coco No-No. I appeased my fish overlords. Bought a sprinkler from Krobus. Picked up a battery pack from the cart lady. Picked up a coconut on my way to the Skull Caverns. And died.
You ran inside and slipped out an ice cube.
And I lost my coconut for Gus's Coco No-No.
I think you guys want that hospital.
Weenie Hut General!
But before I tragically slipped on an ice cube, I managed to get a purple slime egg, so I went and incubated it. On day 216, I woke up and found out that I could do this to Doomslayer. The spirits also wanted me to have a rematch in the Skull Caverns. While trying to give Evelyn a birthday present, I walked in on a HIPAA violation. And just for this, Dr. Harvey, I'm writing to the Zuzu City Medical Board and having you removed. And why was he asking me medical opinions anyway? It's not like I'm a freaking doctor. So after that infuriating scene, I gave Evelyn a birthday gift. My silo had also run out of hay, so I made an emergency trip down to Marnie's. I then spent the rest of the day down in the Skull Caverns and got stupid lucky on a treasure chest and got an auto petter. On day 217, it was Yellow Luck Day. I placed my auto petter in my barn where I thought it would be most useful. I got the first of my green slime balls. I then spent the rest of the day down in the Skull Caverns, but I accidentally died on a prehistoric floor, but not before getting a battery pack. I only needed one more iridium sprinkler and then I was at automation. On day 218, the spirits wanted to
Test your might.
so I filled back up on bombs, did some farm chores, and spent another day beating up monsters down in the mines. On day 219, the spirits just would not stop showering me with good luck. And I ended up getting this dialogue option from Sebastian today, and let me tell you, I stood there, shocked, for a good few minutes. And then he said this. Harvey, next time I give you coffee, I might just spit in it. My new sturgeon pond was leveling up nicely. And I was going to go to Skull Caverns today, but upon seeing the harvest of ancient fruit that I got, and Leah's schedule for the day, I decided against it. I did some much needed farm chores instead. And I completed the missing bundle. And I also started crying. And that was my first objective complete. I then gave Leah a birthday gift. I wonder what this could be. On day 220, the fish were once again pleased. I headed down to the beach to see that my crab pots had finally given me a lobster. So I headed over to Gus's and I gave him his lobster and his coconut. I ran into Emily on my way out and she said that her house was way too big, but mine was just right. Maybe on the forest farm, babe. I headed over to the movie theater and bought movie tickets for Sebastian and I. This theater is quite the vibe. Ironically, the movie that we went to go see was about the Feast of the Winter Star, on the eve of the Feast of the Winter Star. But Sebastian didn't like the movie. Luckily, I was able to give him one of his love snacks. On day 221, I spent the better part of the morning wondering if my slimes were going to do the hanky-panky today. But they didn't, so I went to the Feast of the Winter Star. Robin invited me to sit with her family like I wasn't already part of her family and she wasn't a grandmother. And Harvey was grateful that there was no medical emergencies this year, despite the several times that I died. What am I, a joke to you? I gave Pierre a rabbit's foot, and he loved it. And my secret Santa was Caroline, Pierre's wife. Like this game knows that I spent my 200 days making fun of their relationship. On day 222, after giving me a little bit of a break, the spirits once again showered me with good humor. And now my fancy boys want this. Whatever that is. I had hatched too many slime eggs at this point, because my slimes were now beating me up whenever I went into their enclosure to incubate another egg. I eventually broke down and got my slime charmer ring to corral them all back inside. I bought my final iridium sprinkler that I would need for automation, and I gave Clint a birthday gift. I spent the rest of the night blowing myself up in the mines. On day 223, I placed my final sprinkler. Now all I would need is spring to roll around, so then that way I would be fully automated. Do I even need to check the TV to tell you what the luck is going to be? And so I headed down into the mines. On day 224, the spirits were, well, you get the point. Sebastian wanted me to celebrate New Year's with him, but I was going to be in Skull Caverns. So I spent the day in Skull Caverns. And oh my god, I got another auto petter out of a treasure chest. Unfortunately though, with getting so distracted by the auto petter, I blew myself up and died. So maybe I was going to celebrate New Year's with Sebastian. I placed my auto petter in my coop, and I settled on the fact that I probably was not going to go down to Skull Caverns again until I needed to fight some Pepperexes. And I spent the night hanging out with Sebastian and decorating my house. On day 225, I must have taken too many blows to the head that day because I was visited by my grandfather's ghost. He told me that he was proud of me, and that I was a way better farmer than he was when he owned this plot of land, and he trusted me with the future of Day's farm. So to make sure that I wasn't hallucinating, I ran out of bed and ran outside and saw that I had achieved 4 candles. I spent the rest of the day cleaning up the farm and getting my crops down. I ended up running out of strawberries and I had to go visit Pierre's. And I somehow ended up in Pierre's bedroom.
No, 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 no!
I promised not to tell anybody about his secret stash and he let me go, thankfully. And I bought some cauliflower seeds to fill out the rest of the spots. Day 226 was a big ancient fruit harvest day. I put them all through my seed maker and almost filled up my entire greenhouse with ancient fruit. I also spent some time in the secret woods. On day 227, I visited the secret woods after finishing my farm chores. I checked my monster eradication goals and saw that I was getting really close. I then collected some rewards that I've been meaning to pick up. I then spent the rest of the night messing around in the mines with a napalm ring and ended up getting a blue slime egg. On day 228, I incubated my blue slime egg. I held off on incubating my green slime egg because I still wanted different colored slimes than just green slimes. I spent some time in the secret woods, gave Kent a birthday gift, accepted a quest from Evelyn to get George some leeks, and spent the rest of the night beating things up at the mines. On day 229, Doomslayer learned how to crawl. It was almost as if Sebastian knew that I was feuding with Maru. I wasn't going to take the bait, but I also wasn't going to tell him why I wasn't speaking to her anymore. Kent managed to send me something in the mail that wasn't a bomb. My row business was going swimmingly. I bought a tea sapling from the cart lady, and spent the rest of the day looking for leeks for George. On day 230, Evelyn must have known that I was hard at work on George's quest because she sent me some cookies in the mail. I found some more leeks for George, and I visited the secret woods where I got another green slime egg. I appeased my spooky boys, and I spent the rest of the night clearing up some debris that had spawned during the seasonal changeover. On day 231, I once again appeased my fish children. My cave was fully loaded full of stuff. See, this is the nice thing about Bat Caves. You can just set it and forget it. I then gave Mayor Lewis a birthday gift in the room that I had paid for with my own money. He also had the audacity to brag about being the mayor of Pelican Town for 20 years. Yeah, the mayor of doing absolutely nothing. I think if I were to run for mayor, I'd probably win, despite, forgetting a few people's birthdays and stuff like that. I spent the rest of the night fighting monsters in the mines. On day 232, I wondered who had kidnapped my husband. Gus mailed me an entire plate of spaghetti, and I was impressed because none of the marinara sauce dripped in my mailbox. I finally picked up my statue of perfection. I picked up this Pam quest that I'd never heard of before. It was beginning to become quite the tight squeeze in my greenhouse, and I finished the night focusing on my monster eradication goals. On day 233, I greeted Doomslayer as she was just about to fall down the stairs. You know, if farming doesn't work out for Sebastian and I, we could always become family vloggers and milk the crap out of that. I walked outside and saw my Junimos hard at work collecting strawberries for me. And that was another objective complete. I figured out that the reason why my slimes weren't breeding with each other was because my enclosure was too small. I spent all day reworking their space, and it took forever because they kept getting in my way. But my lawyers tell me that I have to disclose that no slimes were hurt or killed in the making of this enclosure. On day 234, we still didn't have any babies, but I was confident that this new setup was going to work. I gave Vincent a birthday gift while he was learning, and I continued to search high and low looking for leaks for George. And I finished the day in the mines. On day 235, my slime hutch was bugging out, and my lava eels requested mega bombs, which actually kind of scared me a little bit. I only needed one more leak to complete the quest, and I spent the rest of the night cleaning up my farm. Day 236 was Sebastian and I's 1-year wedding anniversary. I stared at my slimes for a good bit to see if any of them were going to reproduce.
I would like to see the baby.
But they didn't, so yay. I interrupted Sebastian's pool sesh to invite him to the movies for our anniversary. This dialogue heavily amused me for some reason. And the crane hog wasn't there for once, so I decided that I was going to try to win something. But unfortunately, I didn't understand the controls, and I didn't win anything. But we watched The Brave Little Sapling! And it was something. And Sebastian hated it. Happy anniversary! Day 237 was the Egg Festival, and it was also another harvest. After I was done my farm chores, I ran off to the festival. I bought an insane amount of strawberries to last me for a few growing seasons. And of course, I participated in the egg hunt. After all was said and done, I collected 10 eggs, and I defended my title.
When I left you, I was but a learner. Now I am the
Upon arriving home, though, I found out that the Junimos don't collect anything past sundown, so I had to auto-collect all the rest of the stuff that they didn't get. I then replaced my cauliflower with strawberry seeds. On day 238, Pam's potatoes were ready, so I kegged them up for her vodka. I gave Haley a birthday present, and then she requested that I help her take pictures of herself out in nature. And this happened.
I'm ugly and I'm proud.
I fought some monsters in the mines. I then made some lightning rods to get some battery packs for next time it storms. On day 239, Haley wrote me to thank me for having fun with cows. I finished my lightning rod project. Now all I needed was one good thunderstorm and I could complete the ticket booth. My greenhouse was also completely filled with ancient fruit. I spent the rest of the night looking for that last elusive leak. On day 240, I spent some time down in the mines after my farm chores, and I continued to collect hardwood to get to Ginger Island. Having my hardwood trees back were a godsend. On day 241, I found out that if it's raining, your Junimos do not collect your crops for you, so I had to collect them the old-fashioned way. I searched high and low for a leek today, until finally, I found one. When I entered into Evelyn and George's to give them the leeks, Evelyn was baking cookies, and she gave me a sample of some, and then she taught me how to make them. I then snuck the leeks into their oven. And the game just loves giving me green slime eggs. I spent the rest of the night hunting down dust sprites and void spirits. On day 242, Evelyn thanked me for giving her the leeks and invited me over to watch her give them to George. She also gave me this sick coffee maker that I placed at the door so I could have a cup of joe to go. And Pam really came in clutch. My potato juice was ready. I snuck the potato juice into Pam's fridge while Penny wasn't looking, and I stopped by Evelyn and George's for probably the most wholesome cutscene in this entire game. I then gave Pam a birthday gift. I then completed the Monster Slayer goals for Void Spirits and Dust Sprites. And now I only had the Skull Cavern monsters and the monsters on Ginger Island to defeat. On day 243, I admired my kingdom with a nice hot cup of coffee. I appeased my fishy overlords.
Nope.
I spent the rest of the day expanding my keg empire for when I would get back into the wine business. I headed down to Willie's and finally gave him that lingcod he'd been asking for. And there was a crab rave at Willie's. But Papa Gus busted the party faster than bike cops do on college campuses. I spent the rest of the night hunting down red slimes with a burglar ring on in the hopes of double rolling a slime egg. On day 244, I used the last of my Omni Geodes to buy some artifact troves. I commissioned a new fish pond from Robin since my sea cucumbers were all full. Other than a few big money items, the artifact troves didn't have anything new in them. I headed down to the ocean and saw Haley fretting on the beach. Turns out Haley was missing her bracelet, so with some detective work I was able to find it, next to Elliot's cabin. I gave it back to her and she was eternally grateful, and then did this.
Big no ma'am. No ma'am. No ma'am. No ma'am.
Girl, bye! I'm married! I then donated the hardwood that I would need to Willie's boat. I stopped by the saloon and gave Shane a birthday gift. I spent the rest of the night expanding Keg Nation. On day 245, I tried to feed Little Doomslayer coffee. It's like rain on your harvest day. Atlantis Morissette would probably think this was ironic. With the main mine's monster goals completed, I knew that I needed to start going back down into Skull Caverns, and it was just the luck for it. I completed the mummy part of the Monster Slayer goals and also avenged my death by explosion. I was able to find a few Pepper Rexes too, but none of them dropped dinosaur eggs. On day 246, I woke up to a bill from Harvey. My new pond was ready, so I pulled out a super cucumber, and I started a new generation in a new pond. I said nay nay to those green slime eggs. I then loaded back up on bombs, and I spent the entire day splunking down in the mines looking for Pepper Rexes. Unfortunately though, I didn't find any. On day 247, the spirits once again showered me with good luck, and Sebastian tried to guilt me out of going to the flower dance. Nope. I got another bill from Dr. Harvey, and Pierre gave me money. What? And Mayor Lewis sent out his formal invitation to the flower dance. My ancient fruit was ready to harvest, and I kegged him up, restarting my wine business. I incubated a purple slime egg, and I spent the rest of the day down in the mines. On day 248, I buttered up Sebastian so he wouldn't get too mad at me about me dragging him to the flower festival. After finishing up my farm chores, I donned my favorite mask and made my way towards the flower dance. I bought the tub of flowers recipe and a rare crow. I then made a beeline for Sebastian and asked him to dance with me, and he begrudgingly said yes. I then spent some time annoying Haley. Like really, this went on longer than it probably should have, but it was really fun. I then became the master of ceremonies and told Lewis it was time to start the dance.
Staying alive, staying alive.
I then went home and made more kegs for Keg Nation. On day 249, I was once again blessed by Yoba. Sebastian admitted that he enjoys watching me run around my farm like a crackhead. It was yet another harvest, and luckily this time it was not raining. I walked into my coop to see that another void egg had hatched, and I named it Eddie. If you know, then you know. Oh my god, something other than a green slime egg. Yoba truly has blessed me today. But then all that good luck got sucked right out of my soul because Pam had a doctor's visit today and wasn't going to drive me to the desert. So I took out my anger doing my seasonal cleanup of the quarry, and I spent the rest of the night looking for the ever-elusive red slime egg. On day 250, it was like I was waking up in a party city because the party just would not stop with the good luck. My lava eels actually requested doable things. I'm looking at you, fancy boys. I hate you. And that was another pond complete. I walked in on Clint, Emily, and Shane making a commercial for Joja Cola, but Pierre killed Morris, so I was very confused. But hey, I didn't kill Morris, so I participated in the commercial. But if Joja Blue is anything like Pepsi Blue, I don't want any of it. I then gave the man who killed Morris a birthday gift. Harvey then body blocked me on the way out, and I showed him just how much I appreciate those $1,000 medical bills he keeps sending me. I then spent the rest of the day in Skull Cavern. I managed to land on a prehistoric floor and finally got a dinosaur egg, and so I celebrated accordingly. And the wizard's ex-wife once again gave me another void egg. On day 251, Sebastian once again taunted me with how to be mean to Maru. Do I even have to tell you? I don't even have to tell you. Although the idea of having a satanic chicken army sounded like a fun idea, I decided against it and pressed it into mayo. Thank you, Yoba. And you're dang right I incubated that thing. I gave Emily a birthday gift, and she danced for me, and it was psychedelic and awesome. And after all was said and done, she asked me what did I think. You're such a vibe, girl, and I platonically love you this playthrough. After that masterpiece of a performance, I filled back up on bombs and spent the rest of the day down in the skull mines. On day 252, the spirits finally decided to go easy on me. Emily sent me the recipe for a red plate. Eddie was fully grown. I ran up to the in-laws and commissioned Robin to build me a new coop, and then headed off to the secret woods for the first time in what felt like ages. I spent the rest of the night cleaning up my farm and fixing pathways. Day 253 was the start of summer. Not today, Satan, not today. I went outside, sucked down some coffee, and bushwhacked my dead strawberry plants. Robin was hard at work on my new coop. Well, here we go, time to get greeted by my new green slime egg. What? I finally got a red slime egg, and I did an appropriate dance. And then I ran it in to get incubated because we're all about inclusivity here at Days Farm. I stopped by Pierre's and bought a crap ton of blueberry seeds. And I planted them all, admiring my work. I spent the rest of the day cleaning up the seasonal debris that spawned overnight. On day 254, I spent a better part of the day smelting some bars for some kegs. It was a jam and ancient fruit harvest. My wine was ready, and I kegged up my harvest. I spent the rest of the night blocking off some areas of my slime hutch that were causing some glitched breeding. I then attempted to get rid of this fence post and accidentally killed some slimes. They made me pay for it by not allowing me to leave, and then I eventually passed out in my slime hutch. On day 255, Sebastian got up early and watered the crops for me. Even though I already had Iridium sprinklers, it's the thought that counts. Plus, I'd like to imagine Sebastian slathering enough sunscreen on his face like Mrs. Doubtfire smashing her face into a cake. After I was done my farm chores, I headed off to the desert trader to buy some artifact troves. I commissioned Robin to upgrade to a big coop. I broke open the troves at Clint's, but I didn't get anything new other than some few monetary items that I could sell. I then paid Pam for another ride out to the desert and bought a statue of endless fortune. I then sat it next to my statue of perfection at Grandpa's shrine. I then donated my dinosaur tibula and moved my crab pots to my farm. And another sturgeon pond was done. On day 256, I woke up at Party City yet again. A pink cake awaited me at my shrine of endless fortune because it was Jazz's birthday. I then gave her a birthday gift. I then spent the rest of the day down in the Skull Caverns. On day 257, Doomslayer was fully grown and I celebrated by trying to kill her. My plutonic girlfriend sent me some wool in the mail. And now that Doomslayer was old enough, it was time that she got a helmet that was fitting of her namesake. I headed over to Robin's to upgrade to a deluxe coupe, but I was a little short on wood. So I just bought what I needed from her.
Yeah, because I'm rich.
Deluxe coupe, here I come. And then I went home and incubated my dinosaur egg. I then headed over to Crobus's and bought another Iridium sprinkler and some signs for my fish ponds. And I returned the sprinkler that I borrowed when I made my automation project. And this is the cutest and most creepiest thing ever. On day 258, I collected my green slime eggs to sell. I appeased my super cucumbers. And I headed over to Gus's to buy more salads. And I spent the rest of the day bombing the crap out of Skull Caverns looking for pepper rexes and iridium bats. On day 259, I swear to Yoba I am not running a mod or a predictor. Sebastian then watered the already watered crops and then proceeded to go on this whole spiel about how we needed to raise slimes in the slime hutch, to which I showed him the purple slime egg that I got in the mines yesterday that I was planning on incubating in the slime hutch that we own. I incubated my purple slime egg. I hit up the dwarf for more bombs, and then spent the rest of the night looking for pepper rexes in the mines. On day 260, Yoba gave me a break. But what he didn't give me was a lightning storm. Yay! No Ginger Island anytime soon for me. I like how I'm incubating any slime egg that isn't green at this point. I gave Gus a birthday gift. I then moved my crab pots back down to the beach because I still needed to catch a crab. I then spent the rest of the day fishing in the Cindersnap Forest trying to catch a Dorado. On day 261, it was an ancient fruit harvest. And I collected up the wine while I kegged more. I spent some time fishing today and I finally caught that overgrown goldfish. And I celebrated because it was the last fish that I needed to catch in Stardew Valley. Now all I needed was a crab and the Ginger Island fish. On day 262, I buried the hatchet and gave Maru a birthday gift, to which she hit on me again.
I've made a huge mistake.
Screw ever giving her anything ever again. And so I beat my anger out on things down in the mines. And a crop fairy came and visited me. Day 263 was the day of the Luau festival. I ran in another slime egg to hatch. And they all tried to kill me. Joke's on them, I have a slime charmer ring. I then headed down to the Luau festival and smooshed with everybody who isn't Maru. Honestly, shoving Harvey at Maru right now is absolutely perfect for me. Go ahead, Tiger, go get her. And Sebastian bringing our child to this event is absolutely hilarious, especially considering the mask that she is wearing. After talking up the entire town, I finally added my truffle and had Mayor Lewis start the luau. And once again, I was no idiot sandwich, and the luau pot was a smashing success. You okay there, little Doomslayer? On day 264, the weather for tomorrow was finally going to be on my side. I tried to act cool at first, but I could not contain my joy. My plutonic bestie BFF Emily invited me to clothing therapy later. I accidentally ate my spookfish roe. I then added another egg to my slime army. I bought a bunch of artifact troves before realizing that it was Friday and Clint would not be working today. I joined Emily's clothing therapy. And it was honestly a great time until Clint made it weird. Very weird. And then Clint congratulated me for winning Emily when I'm married to Sebastian and totally plutonic BFF girlfriends with Emily. And after that exchange, I bought a beer at Gus's, got drunk, and then proceeded to try to light myself on fire. And then went home and smelted iron for the rest of the night and tried not to shove myself into the furnace. On day 265, once again, it was going to storm the next day. That's okay, Sky, I just needed one storm. Oh my god, my poor blueberries. I only had a short window of time before Alex screwed off and went into his room for the rest of the day, so I quickly ran and got his complete breakfast, and made it in time to give him his birthday present. Finally, after 2 years. Like seriously, I had no hearts with this guy. It was crap mating season, so I made sure to clean up the beach. I headed off to Clint's to finally open up my artifact troves, and I didn't get anything new, but I did get a few monetary items that I could sell. As I was running off to the secret woods to get the last of the hardwood I would need for my horse stable, I ran into Shane contemplating his life. Shane requested to go to the hospital, where Dr. Harvey then violated his HIPAA rights and assumed I was his medical power of attorney. I am so having your medical license revoked, Harvey. I chopped the last of the stumps I needed, but I got to Robin's too late. I spent the night dancing by my full lightning rods. On day 266, Shane stopped by to apologize for what happened yesterday. And while I was happy that he was still there, I slipped him a business card for a good lawyer and told him to sue Harvey. And it yet again rained on a harvest day. And then ran down to Marty's ranch and got Shane's 7-heart event, in which he tells his family that he is now sober. But I guess I have to come down here on a sunny day to get the blue chicken cutscene. I donated 5 battery packs and fixed the ticket machine. Now all I had to do was wait for the boat to be repaired overnight. I then headed over to Robin's and commissioned for her to finally make a horse stable for me. I had no idea where I wanted to put it at first, but decided that I was going to put it in my animal enclosure. And the slime army was going to grow even more. Ginger Island, here I come. On day 267, I collected my extra batteries. Willie wrote me to tell me that the boat was now operational. I ran out of open preserve jars for my row, so I raced down to the community board to see that Robin did have a quest, but it was for stone. I spotted Sebastian down by the mountain lake, and it reminded me of the early days of our relationship when I used to casually run into him down here, and then he admitted that he stopped smoking. I then ran into Robin's to buy some wood from her, but found her missing because she was building my horse stable. I finished my farm chores a little too late today, so I decided to gather ingredients that I would need to cook every dish. And I wound up with this. It wasn't much, but it was a start. And now Sebastian and Doomslayer would have something to eat while I was away on Ginger Island. Not that I feed them anyway. I also collected my wine a day early, and saw that my casks were all ready, so I loaded them back up with wine. On day 268, my horse stable was ready, and I named my new horse Plops. It was an ancient fruit harvest, so I kegged him up. After I was finished my farm chores, I hopped on Plops and headed on down to the beach. It was Ginger Island time, baby! And that was another objective complete. Upon reaching the island, I was very confused, as was the island native boy that I just scared. But from my vast, expansive knowledge of never being here before, I managed to kind of figure it out. Only nobody told me that there would be a volcano on the first day, so I didn't bring any food or any bombs. I also got this really cool mango sapling. But then I died, and I lost that very cool mango sapling. So close to death and bleeding out, I returned home, where I caught Marnie and Lewis canoodling. I promised to Ray Lewis the entire situation, and paid Marlin to go fetch me back my very cool mango sapling. On day 269, Marlin found my very cool mango sapling, and so I planted it in case the off chance that I were to happen to die in the next 5 seconds, and lose it again. I burned up a lot of my afternoon trying to find Sam to give him a birthday gift. For some reason, I was convinced that he worked at the community center and not the museum. And so after wasting so much time, I finally found him and gave him a birthday gift. Because of my snafu, I ended up getting to Ginger Island way later than I wanted to, and I ended up passing out in the volcano mine on floor 5. On day 270, it was another blueberry harvest, but it was also raining, so nobody was going to harvest it but me. My dinosaur egg hatched, and I named it Hoda after my good friend who I play Phasmophobia with. I got my farm chores done late, so I decided to stay on mainland and pay Robin a visit for some wood for some preserve jars. Only, Robin wasn't at her post. She was probably at her annual checkup with Dr. Harvey. So I spent the rest of the day fishing for some fish that I would need for my recipes. Day 271 started off with me appeasing my super cucumbers. And if it wasn't green, it could breed. Not having enough preserve jars for my row was starting to really get old. So I headed up to Robin's to buy some wood, and I gave my favorite step-nerd-in-law a birthday present. That should be good. For now. I also commissioned Robin to make me another fish pond. I spent the rest of the day fishing for ingredients. On day 272, my fridges were coming along nicely with stocking up on ingredients. I thought I moved pretty quickly through my farm chores, so I raced down to the beach, only to find Alex in my way. He then proceeded to throw a football in my face like a complete tool.
Hey, you guys. Oh, my nose!
I hate you, Alex. I hate you. When I finally got to Ginger Island, I paid 10 walnuts to have the parrots move this turtle like Delta removes their passengers from a plane. I'm gonna have to come back here with crab cakes or something because this mine is just too big to do in half a day. On day 273, I found my crab cakes in one of my hoarded out chests. I paid the dwarf a visit and bought some bombs. I then teleported to Ginger Island with this island warp totem that I got yesterday. I ran through the mines like I was on an episode of Temple Run and made it to the end, finally getting to the forge. I tried to get my farm chores done, but I ended up passing out by my fish ponds. On day 274, my plutonic girlfriend gave me a gift in the mail, and Kent gave me a bomb. Thanks. It was a blueberry harvest, and I spent most of the day catching up on farm chores, and I gave the dwarf a birthday gift. On day 275, Gus made sure that I didn't go hungry. Some more blueberries were ready, and due to it raining, I had to harvest them. More ancient fruit was ready, and so I collected the finished bottles and kegged up the rest. I gave Sheen a pizza to get to 8 hearts with him so I could unlock blue chickens. And since I had gotten an aesthetically pleasing hat for my Monster Slayer goals yesterday, I decided to have Plops come down to Hat Mouse and get him an appropriate hat. And I got him a pretty bow.
Yes, that's happening. Yes, that's happening.
On day 276, after finishing my farm chores, I headed down to Marnie's ranch and got Shane's 8 heart event. And I unlocked blue chickens. And so I adopted 2 blue chickens right away, naming them Blue and Cheese. I also bought 2 ducks, Lottie and Dottie, and 2 rabbits, Tommy and Donnie. And I gave Willie a birthday gift. And I spent the rest of the day down in Ginger Island doing some fishing, meeting some villagers, and finding walnuts. And I passed out trying to complete the memory puzzle. On day 277, Leo wrote me to tell me that he found me passed out on the island, and Willie helped him write the letter. My dinosaur produced me my first egg, and so I threw it into my incubator to make more dinosaurs. While collecting slime balls, I saw that my slimes had actually bred and made a yellow slime. I was very proud of them. I started Birdie's quest by giving Kent the warm memento, and Gus the tomato salt. But as I was running out to buy a bus ticket out to the desert, Pam was leaving her post to go to the Stardrop Saloon to get a refreshing beverage. So I spent the rest of the night trying to see if I could get the skeletal hand to spawn. On day 278, it was raining again on a harvest day, and who would have thought it figures. This is what happens when you sleep on your secret notes and don't read them. I gave Sandy the Stardew Valley Rose, George the TV remote while Evelyn and George ate lunch. I gave the wizard this magic ice shard thing, and Willie the Wrigley worm. I then headed off to Ginger Island where I gave Leo a birthday gift, and Birdie her pirate's locket. I spent the rest of the night clearing out this bone pit area while ignoring a man who was obviously trapped in the cave. On day 279, Sebastian asked me out to the Moonlight jellies, and then I remembered it's the end of summer. Oh crap! After I was done my farm chores, I rode Plops up to my in-laws' house. I bought a surplus of wood because I was going to need it for my next crafting project. I rode over to the movie theater and bought 2 tickets for Sebastian and I. And I bought another auto grabber from Marnie's. I headed home and asked Sebastian out, and we went to go see the Prairie King movie, and Sebastian didn't hate the movie for once. I then went home and spent the rest of the day making mail machines and looms. Day 280 was the last day of summer. It was also the festival of the Moonlight jellies. After I was done my farm chores, I checked my luck, and I saw that it was favorable, so I decided to go out to the desert. It was time to play some Calico Spin. And after a few wins, I finally had enough to get that rare crow. So like an unattended toddler at a Chuck E. Cheese, I ran over to that prize table and I bought a top hat and a rare crow. And I proudly displayed them on my farm. And I spent the rest of the day making kegs. I headed down to the festival and I saw that Sebastian and Doomslayer were hanging out with Abigail and Sam. He then conned them into watching her while we had a romantic evening watching the jellies. Watching her run around was just highly amusing to me. I also want to take a moment to thank everybody for the success of my 100 and 200 day videos, and I hope you're enjoying this 300 days video too. Day 281 was the start of fall. I was inducted into the Rare Crow Society, and I cleaned up my dead blueberry plants. I bought a crap ton of cranberry seeds. I also bought a ton of seeds that I could plant on Ginger Island for ingredients. I collected my wine a day early, because why not? And I planted my cranberry seeds. I then spent the rest of the day making kegs. On day 282, it was an ancient fruit harvest day, so I kegged them up. I walked in on Pam absolutely hating my potato juice, and I gave Penny a birthday gift. She then asked me to clean up the trailer, much to the chagrin of Pam. And I know that this is a scene that's supposed to make you feel bad for Penny, but honestly, I agree with Pam here. I got down to Willie's too late to go to Ginger Island, and so I spent the rest of the night foraging around for some ingredients. And I made some more kegs. On day 283, Sebastian was super excited about the bundle of joy that was coming soon. Pam thanked me for the awful potato juice, and Penny told me to forget that yesterday even happened. I then headed down to Ginger Island after finishing my farm chores, and I got a cutscene with Leo. That didn't end very well. I planted some crops that I was going to need for recipes, and I freed the trapped man from the boulder, who turned out to be Ginger Island Gunther, and I donated this thing that I just so happened to have on me. And while I was digging around in the bone pit, I found the skeletal hand. And that was the last artifact I needed to find. I then headed home and made more kegs. On day 284, I checked my autograbber to see that Hoda had laid another dinosaur egg. Check and mate. I appeased my super cucumbers. I headed down to Gunther's and I donated the last 3 artifacts I would need to complete my collection. And I collected my rewards, getting my 6th star drop. I spent some time combing the beach for my water obelisk, but I was 1 shell short. I headed off to Professor Snail's, where I donated some fossils that I had laying around in my chests. And I totally didn't cheat at the island surveys. And I spent the rest of the night running around looking for golden walnuts. Brad gave birth in the middle of the night, and I named the new goat Lad. On day 285, I combed the beach for more shells, but I couldn't find any. I gave Elliot a birthday gift, and he then complained about his legs again from sitting. To which I say,
bye, have a beautiful time.
I then headed over to Ginger Island where I tried the memory puzzle again. And then after zoning out for several hours on the puzzle, I finally got my walnuts. I farted around on the island until it got really late. And I ended up falling off of my horse and passing out, nowhere near home. On day 286, Linus sent me a largemouth bass, and if you think that's going to Jody, you're absolutely wrong. It's going into my ingredients fridge. My pigs are truffle crazy. I headed over to Pierre's and bought wheat. And I spent the rest of the day at Ginger Island, running around and looking for walnuts. On day 287, I could now look at fishing info on the TV. Caroline sent me a parsnip, and I ran it through the seed maker so I could plant it on Ginger Island. I got another red slime egg, so I ran it into the incubator to hatch it. I was starting to grow quite the slime army. I spent the rest of the day fishing for ingredients I would need, and at this rate I would have enough truffle oil to sustain me probably the entire winter. On day 288, it was a cranberry harvest. I visited Robin and I bought all of her crafting recipes. All of them. I then commissioned her to build me my 3rd sturgeon pond. I then spent the day fishing and feeding this bear thing in the Cindersnap forest. He requested pumpkin soup, but I didn't have any yet. On day 289, Jody sent me some fertilizer, and Lewis reminded me that it was time to beat the ever-living snot out of Pierre at the Stardew Valley Fair. Another dinosaur hatched, and I named him Will, another honorary Ghostbuster. It was an ancient fruit and jelly harvest, so I collected my wine while I kegged up more. Yes, give me more different colored slimes. I did some more fishing for ingredients, and I checked my crab pots to see that not only had I gotten a crab, but I had gotten a lobster too. I of course had to dance with my crab. Now all I needed was 2 more fish and I would have my last star drop. I headed over to the Star Drop Saloon and got this cutscene with Elliot. Okay, so you're a lightweight.
That don't impress me much.
I lucked out because Gus was selling pumpkin soup, and I gave it to the trash bear. I then ran home and whipped up some cheese collie and gave him that as well, and he cleaned up the valley for me. Thanks, dude! And in the middle of the night, I gave birth to a baby boy who I named Little Sebastian. And if you think it's cute that I named it after Sebastian, I didn't.
Now the one, the only Lil Sebastian.
On day 290, Sebastian was very sentimental. I set up my 3rd sturgeon pond. I picked up a shell off the beach and got very excited, but upon getting to the wizard's tower, I found out that I did not know how to math. And like a Karen, I made it to Willie's 10 minutes before close. And Willie did try to body block me the best he could out of the store because technically he was closed. I ignored him and demanded that he take me to Ginger Island. I harvested some crops that were ready on the land that I was currently squatting on, and I found some walnuts. On day 291, this dialogue highly amused me. I collected my final shell for the ocean obelisk. So I ran down to the wizard's tower and I built it. I gave Jody a birthday gift, and I opened up some golden coconuts at Clint's. I then did some fishing, but I didn't catch anything that I needed. And I of course had to check out the cute little puppers. I then fought some dust sprites for a coffee bean that I needed to ship. On day 292, I'm gonna have to start taking the weed away from Sebastian before he goes to bed.
Oh, what's going on? I didn't know it was alright to eat those guys. I better should check the bro book, make sure that's okay.
And also this is really convenient. I caught a blue discus. I then realized that I forgot my gems back at home, so I couldn't complete the gem bird puzzle. I then harassed Leo's parrot and went home for the night. On day 293, it was a cranberry harvest. My last red slime egg wouldn't hatch because I had too many slimes, so I closed my eyes and I swung. Sorry, children. I gave Abigail a birthday gift. I then proceeded to complete the Gembird puzzle. Who says cheaters never win anything, right? And so I paid the parrot to repair the house, so I would no longer be squatting on this land. I then met the Gorman Frog, who didn't want to talk to me until my plants were bumbo big. It got too late to go home safely, so I decided that I was going to stay on the island for the night. On day 294, I decided to head home because the farm wasn't going to run itself. I threw a diamond into my sturgeon pond so they could start breeding. I stopped at the cart lady to buy some tomato seeds and some rice pudding. I then headed over to the wizard tower and bought the earth obelisk. And I finally appeased my fancy boys. On day 295, Mayor Lewis gave me 500 gold, and also let me know that the Stardew Valley Fair is tomorrow. I was pretty confident I was going to kick Pierre's behind, but I decided to set some items aside just in case. I gave Sandy a birthday gift, and I think it's really cute that Emily visits her on her birthday. I spent the rest of the day down in Skull Caverns trying to get a prehistoric floor. I didn't find a floor, but I did find 2 dinosaurs, and I got another dinosaur egg. On day 296, Sebastian was keeping up with the house chores. I made dino meal for the first time. It was an ancient fruit harvest, and so I of course gleefully kegged them up. And with my entire Grange display shoved into my backpack, I ran to the fair. And I set up my display, fully ready to kick Pierre's ass.
I said I'm going to kick his ass.
So with bated breath, I followed Mayor Lewis stall to stall while he judged each and every one of us. And I won, with the highest score that I have ever had.
And I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
Also, can we talk about this fortune, because I have never remembered Robin's birthday ever. On day 297, Sebastian was worried about Doomslayer and little Sebastian getting along because him and Maru never got along. Then he blamed himself for it, which I find highly unlikely. Kent sent me a bomb in the mail and I almost blew up my farm with it. My mango tree was grown. I then spent the rest of the day in the volcano mines looking for flames and walnuts. On day 298, I woke up on Ginger Island. I saw that my plants had grown, so I decided to show them to the Gorman Frog. I then headed home to do farm chores. I headed over to Clint's to break open some golden coconuts, and I got a banana sapling, which I was very excited about. And I wasted no time planting it in my greenhouse. I gave Marnie a birthday gift. And that was another objective complete. On day 299, I found out what Marnie's making when she's staring at that microwave for so long. After completing my general farm maintenance, I decided to go to Ginger Island and harvest the crops that I couldn't harvest the other day because my inventory was full. I then spent the rest of the day battling flames and looking for walnuts in chests. On day 300, I woke up on Ginger Island. I wish there was a way that you can move your family here. As I tried leaving the island, I kept finding bone parts. But hey, at least that's coming along swimmingly. I ran out of space in my fridge, so I had to use a spare chest for the rest. And day 300 was spent how I usually spend my days, doing farm chores. I'd like to think that I accomplished a lot these 100 days, and so I went to bed thinking about what I was gonna do next. And that was the end of 300 days in Stardew Valley. If you liked this video, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe if you like this channel, and I'll see you next time for maybe 400 days of Stardew Valley. My name is Gary and I'm signing off. Bye!